Tonight our consultants are going to introduce to you, they're going to show you schematic representations of our work within the CRA boundaries along Atlantic Boulevard from Northeast 20th Avenue to A1A, East Atlantic Boulevard from A1A to Pompano Beach Boulevard, and along Pompano Beach Boulevard from Atlantic Boulevard to Northeast 5th Street. And then one of our consultants will show you some of our proposed improvements within the Harbor Village subdivision. Tonight our consultants will address many parts of the designs and address some concerns that were raised at previous meetings. And I'd like to ask you to please hold your questions until our consultants have concluded their presentation. After that, we will be happy to address your concerns and any questions, and we'll pass the microphone around. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Bruce Reed with Keith Schnarrs, one of the consultants that's responsible for the Atlantic Boulevard improvement.
Thank you, Horatio, and thank you for coming out for the presentations tonight. As Horatio mentioned, this is one of the three projects that are being presented tonight, and this is Atlantic Boulevard. This project begins at Northeast Southeast 20th Avenue and runs to A1A. Originally there was a schematic that was approved that included palm trees, shade trees, and we had developed concepts and worked through the concepts with the CRA, presented them here, and we've also worked through with the contractor and ensuring that the project falls within the budget. And this is basically the final design concept here. As you can see, this project will follow the Department of Transportation project. They have a project that's scheduled to begin construction in July, and that should last a little bit less than a year. And then this project will come in and follow it. It's going to address the sidewalk areas as well as the medians. The design basically is decorative hardscape treatment, and then we'll get into a little bit of detail about each of those. It also includes landscaping being installed in the sidewalk where the areas are wide enough. The landscape basically accents the ends of each block or the intersection, followed with shade trees in between. The medians proposed include shrubs and ground cover with, again, palm accents down the center of the medians. This gives you a little bit more idea of perspective of what the hardscape treatment looks like. This is another perspective of possible extension of some of the cafes and how the tables could be laid out, and there's still plenty of walking room. In this specific area, the hardscape goes all the way to the curb line. Here's one that you'll notice there's landscape implemented adjacent to the curb. This is to correct some of the drainage issues that we're going to have out there, but still the sidewalk and the hardscape treatment remains wide enough, again, to allow some type of outdoor activity from the commercial or storefronts, and still plenty of pedestrian walking area. This is another perspective of the hardscape with some of the site amenities incorporated into it. You can see the median treatment as well. This is what one of the bus stops might look like. The actual bus stop that's being installed by Broward County has a little bit more decorative features, but at the original time of this is what that composed of. This is the detail of the hardscape treatment. Basically, it is a concrete surface which will include decorative aggregate treatment of glass and shell, and a textured pattern added by score lines. And that would all be encompassed around about a 1 foot by 1 foot wide paver band. And then the tree areas will also receive a aggregate covering, which is ADA compliant. This is the flavor of the site amenities on what is being proposed. These may not be the exact ones, but this is the style and the feature that is being proposed for those. And this is what the pedestrian lighting along Atlantic Boulevard would look like, as far as this is the style and the theme that we're going for on that. At this time, I'm going to introduce Randy to come up and go over Harbor Village.
Thanks, Bruce. I'm Randy Hollingworth. We're Mayoff Hamilton Partners, and we've been working for a long time on two of the projects we're discussing tonight. One is the Harbor Village project, and the other one is going to be East Atlantic, which I'll follow right after this one with that. The Harbor Village mass improvements is a area that is on the north side of Atlantic Boulevard between Northeast 26th Avenue and Northeast 28th Avenue. It's a 2-block long area here, and I'm going over this because there may be new people here who haven't seen our last presentation for the orientation. North is straight up. This parking lot looks like it's the parking for the adjacent retail, but in fact it's all city property, right up to the face of the building. So the existing condition is sort of a convoluted, difficult parking lot to get around. It's not in very good shape. Landscaping is has sort of weathered the years, I think, and there's not much left of the old original landscaping. So the city has decided to redevelop this entire area from the base of the existing retail buildings along here all the way down to the back of the sidewalk. We are then also coordinating with Bruce's team to make sure that the elements that we're doing on this piece of property are consistent with all of the streetscape elements that he'll have along Atlantic Boulevard. You can see here, this was the original concept plan that we showed several months ago at the public meeting. In addition to the parking lot re-landscape design, the CRA is also a very ambitious endeavor here to redo all the facades of these buildings and add an arcade in front of the building. And the top elevation shows you what the future potential design of that will look like. And it's a complete rehabilitation of those 2 blocks, from both the building point of view and the landscape. We're dealing strictly with the landscape. There is an architectural firm that's been hired as a consultant to do all of the work with the CRA on the architectural portion of the project. But we're working with the architects to make sure that the landscaping is compatible, visibility to signage is going to be good and improved, and that the stores do very well in the future over the existing condition that's there now. As you can see from this drawing, it shows you the extent of the new covered walkway. It's not in all areas, but it's a fairly consistent concept of columns supporting this new arcade. In the paving pattern and the landscape pattern, all of that was used as part of how we would design the parking lot. All of the components of the landscape in this are very similar to what you just saw with Bruce's as far as the paving materials, the banding. It's all the same components, so that it has a consistency between Atlantic Boulevard and our project. You're seeing here what's been developed as the final plan. It shows the lighting in the parking lot, the spacing on the trees, the parking configuration. This shows all the handicap parking. The detail here shows you a proposed crosswalk from the front of the building out to Atlantic Boulevard. Shows you the paving pattern, which as you can see was very similar to what was just being discussed for Atlantic Boulevard. It's a 24-inch grid of scored concrete with a 12 by 12 banding of brick pavers. The spacing of these pavers is all on the columns that help to support the arcade. So wherever there's a column, there's a band cutting back to the building. And then out on the street, you can see here at the back very faintly, that is the streetscape that's proposed for Atlantic Boulevard. So we're complementing that, and we're going from the back of the sidewalk up to the buildings, so that all of these are working in hand in hand. The furniture you saw on the previous presentation will be the same type of street furniture, the same type of light fixture, and there'll be a consistency and sort of theme throughout the entire redevelopment of this area. One of the components of this is to show you a sample of a place I found that happened to have the scored concrete with the banding. And it's not the same colors we're using, but it gives you an idea of the flavor. And one of the advantages of this is that the scored concrete is a very easy maintenance surface, and fairly economical actually to install too, compared to a lot of concrete pavers that shift and change elevation. It's a really good service that we think will work really well, especially in front of the stores where they have outdoor cafes, and you put tables on a concrete surface as opposed to pavers. One of the components of this plan originally was to have 2 small sort of plazas at each end of the site. At the western end here, up on Atlantic Boulevard, and the eastern end. It's come to light that these may be kind of dangerous. There's been 6 accidents at the corner at this intersection in the last 2 years. And we're concerned that if we place benches out there for people to sit out there, we may have a real problem if someone loses control on the road and goes right through the little plaza. So it really was an area that possibly have some public art and have a few benches, and we've talked to the CRA, and in fact the board I think is seeing this probably for the first time tonight, is the possibility of removing these two plazas, adding benches in other locations, and simply having a sort of feature landscape at each corner. The plan you'll see here shows you that the plaza removed and it's now all landscaping on both sides. We would line the entry walkways coming from the sidewalk on Atlantic Boulevard to the stores. You bring people off the sidewalk, along the arcade, along the storefronts and the restaurants, and then back out on the western end. Or you can also cross in the center here. There's crossings that go out to the Atlantic Boulevard. So pedestrian flow won't be interrupted, but we're concerned about safety and also the use of those spaces so far away from the stores. The retail merchants would clearly like to have the people up at the front of the stores, whether they're in the restaurants and cafes or shopping in the stores. So it's something that we're looking at right now and are certainly investigating the opportunity of making it better. The idea is to make the project the best we can. I'm now going to go down the road a little ways. We're also doing East Atlantic Boulevard, which is the last block of Atlantic Boulevard before you get to Pompano Beach Boulevard on the east end. And we started this, I think, 2 years ago. This has been going for a long time, and we've been working on it, but so many things have happened, and the whole development of Pompano Beach Boulevard has happened, so we kind of had to put the brakes on a little bit because we wanted to make sure that our project was cohesive with the rest of the projects at the beach, and that everything tied in together, and that one little block wouldn't define the whole beach. And I think it's working out really well now. We're moving very quickly with this project as being one of the first to go in the ground, and yet it's going to be very compatible with all the proposals that you're going to see next on Pompano Beach Boulevard. The area is, as I said, the last block on your right is Pompano Beach Boulevard, A1A, Atlantic Boulevard, and north is straight up. The vacant lot here that WCI owned and proposed a hotel site is here, and these are the existing retail restaurant operations on the south side. This was the master plan that we had presented, I think probably 8-9 months ago, and was approved by the CRA advisory board for to develop into construction drawings and to carry further into full design development. And as you'll see, we really, over that period of time, we've done a lot of work, but it hasn't changed much. One of the things we did was we were asked to try to get as much parking on the street as possible. So by playing with some numbers and making some adjustments to the curb radiuses, we were able to add one additional parking on the south side, parallel parking space. And that's basically, there's an island down the center. You'll have one lane coming from Pompano Beach Boulevard going westward, and then they split off to one that turns south on A1A, one goes straight through or turns north. And then going eastward, you have one lane coming into the block that then also breaks into 2 lanes, one going south and one going north on Pompano Beach Boulevard. The primary goal here was to take the road, obviously make it look a lot better, but also increase the sidewalk width on the south side. It's very narrow. The stores have very limited capability of doing anything in front of them because the sidewalk's so narrow. The new sidewalk is from 17 to 18 feet wide now, so it'll be a substantial sidewalk on the south side. And also, the other thing was to have this sort of feature island down the center that would be the gateway to the beach. Because after you leave this, you're on Pompano Beach and that whole project there. This is the latest plan. As you can see, it hasn't changed much. We still have all the same concepts. This shows you the type of paving. I'm not going to go into the detail of the paving because EDSA will show you what they're proposing for Pompano Beach Boulevard next. And it's the same, we've taken the same theme exactly and placed it on Atlantic Boulevard. So when you go around the corner, you won't feel like you've entered another city or another project. This is all going to be consistent. In fact, we've got